at the Great Hall Seals Building. Roll call, Councilor Soto,
Present.
Councilor Marcin.
Here.
Can I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public participation? I see none. So Councilor Soto, I think we're waiting for DPW and the city solicitor.
Yes, I just sent a message to Felix Garcia and the solicitor just now. Oh, here
Oh,
he is.
hi, how are you? And because line item number 4, that pertained to DPW. And we had that conversation in the last meeting.
We can pass it, excuse me, through you, Madam Chair, we can pass it to, or we can table it until they show, or to the next meeting if they don't show up.
So should we table it? Can I have a motion to table line item number 4, consultant identification and engagement?
How about if we just skip it and we'll go on to legal, and if they show up, then we'll,
Okay, makes sense. So I
do what we want.
withdraw
We're a committee.
the motion.
we don't have
Yeah.
to be so formal.
Okay. So we go to the standardized acceptance framework.
Yes. So I guess that's a question for, sorry, Madam Chair. May I ask the solicitor?
Yes, you can.
This, so I think Kathleen Caldwell in last year gave us a summary of the process. It was emailed to us. But I guess what we'd like to see from the solicitor's office is kind of clarity on how they can handle the legal work for that process.
But I think, before you answer, sir, I think Kathleen gave us a synopsis of what today's standards are and how they handle it through the community development board. So when someone, a developer comes in with a new plan and she went over that, how we accept that way, not so much an unaccepted way of an existing street that we have. So I think that's where legal, Mr. O'Neill's going to have to help us. And I know you asked him, but
Well, I mean, we can provide that to you. I think we've done that already. Like, we'll pull that back out and go over it with you. But it's essentially the same process. Unfortunately, when we're dealing with a street that's existed for a long time, it's actually a little more complicated than with a new street, a new development, because usually, typically, in a new case, all the engineering was done. And so it does involve the same process. If folks move forward to do a street acceptance of an unaccepted way, we need essentially the same things. We need, an engineering plan that shows what the street is. We need to know who owns the street currently, and usually, in most cases, it's owned by all of the abutters to the center line of the street. So each person has an interest in it that is along the street. And so, this is why you see in the general laws where there's a certain threshold of people that have to, petition for repairs or that kind of thing, or voluntarily ask that it be accepted, versus the city just taking something by eminent domain because everybody has an ownership interest in it. In rare cases, sometimes the developer has retained a right to the street and just has maybe died or disappeared or something like that. Those cases can be simpler. But it is this sort of expectation of the city that the same work would be done, that there would be some kind of plan presented, whether it's a full-blown engineering plan or not. I would defer to the director of DPW as to what he feels is necessary, and we do have engineering expertise, but we do need to know specifically what we're getting in terms of an easement, so there has to be some engineering and some plan that gets filed as that process goes forward. And then the same procedure applies. There has to be notice to abutters, there has to be a public hearing. So it's all essentially the same. And we can certainly put this up on the website as a process for people to be able to see, what do I do if I want to have my street accepted and I find out it's unaccepted? And we have all that information assembled, so we can put that together and up on the web in fairly short order. The question becomes whether there can be any shortcuts to that. It's a difficult question. I think it would be at the mayor's discretion, and this body's discretion, what you wanted to do with that, because as you know, it involves cost. So we did do one street earlier last year that a developer should have finished the process and did not, and that was Liam's Lane, and that was in good shape. It was up to standards. There were some drainage issues that were addressed, but from the legal perspective, that involved about $12,000 worth of legal work. So that's not something that the city's going to want to cover on a repeated basis. And that street was not that long. It was a shorter street. And that was because there was a number of title work that needed to be done to make sure that, people were on board and we were getting the proper easements and things like that. So we have to that work has to be done in every case. And so that's part of the issue with, the cost of moving forward with this. As we have discussed previously, you can, we could come up with a betterment system or some system of funding and then assessing it back as a betterment or something like that. The problem becomes when everybody wants it for free, right? It becomes a budget item, and that's something that this body has to deal with as a policy along with the mayor. Is there money to do this? Where is that money going to come from, and how will it be recouped, if at all?
Can I ask any questions? So, follow-up question to the legal work, the $12,000 that were spent, that was outsourced to another firm?
It was prior. It had already been being worked on. I believe KP Law handled that. It had already been working on that prior to me taking this office, so it made sense to finish it with them because they had already done a lot of the groundwork for that.
So when you say legal work, because we, in our bit, like in the real estate business, you have to do legal work to transfer ownership. The legal work isn't, obviously it's only for one particular parcel. It's not for the entire street. So we're saying because of this street, all of the properties that are on the street, you would kind of multiply the legal work times that amount of parcels. Is that the way? I think.
Well, I don't think it worked that way. I can give you. I can go back and
I know
give you specifically what they did so you can see.
Okay.
I think it differs in particular cases. It also differs as to whether or not we're going to take the street by eminent domain. We can do it that way. People are sometimes entitled to compensation. We want people to waive that, obviously, if we're accepting their street. So it's possible we could do some of them like that by an eminent domain process where those on the street, agree that they're not going to receive compensation, sort of a friendly eminent domain. The problem becomes when everybody doesn't agree. And so that can be problematic. But there are definitely ways to address specific situations. And I'm not saying that every, street that's out there that comes forth for exception will require $12,000 worth of legal work. Some of it's simpler. It just depends on what the state of title is and how we're going to do it.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
But the problem is, like you said, most of the unaccepted ways we have were never engineered. So the people, the residents own to the center line, so there's not a right-of-way. The right-of-way doesn't exist. It was a paper street possibly that just got improved, so we have to do engineering. So it seems like we have to get the first portion here, we have to get the residents on board to request it, to know that if there's 20 people on the street, at least 15 to 18 of them want the street accepted, right? If there's 15 that don't want it accepted, we're not going to spin our wheels and say, well, they don't want it. They only want their street hot top. They don't want it accepted. We still want a private way, but we don't. But we want the city to fix it.
And we can, and there is a way to do that too with the betterments and the ordinance. If sufficient people want it repaired and want to pay a betterment, that the city can do that. Again, we have to find the money to do that, which has been a constant question as to where that money is going to come from in the budget. But
Right, because we're going to have to come up with whatever, say, I don't know, pick any number, 150,000 to reclaim a street, to grind it and pave it, and then we're just going to send out a betterment. So we're only going to come back, on a payment plan for 15 people. So we're in the finance business again. But again, something gets accomplished.
Mr. Solicitor, on number 5, which is the acceptance of the Section 9A of GLC 200A, that was the reason why I have been asking for that. If there's, if it has been accepted by the city, and if those funds maybe can be used for unaccepted roads improvement.
so that section has not yet been accepted by the city, but that's a very simple thing to do. I mean, it can be accepted. And so what happens to that revenue, this is from abandoned money that checks and things that have been sent out by the city for various things. It can be everything from payroll check to tax refund to some benefit that they received or any check that was uncashed. If ultimately you go through all of the procedures and it's kind of an onerous procedure, then that money, once you've done all the proper notifications and nobody comes forward and says that it's theirs or challenges it, then instead of sending that to the state treasurer's office, which is what is supposed to happen if you haven't accepted this section, then the city can transfer it instead to the general fund. And general fund revenue of the city can be used for any purpose and can be appropriated for any purpose, including this one. Obviously that has to happen through the mayor's office because the council's not free to initiate appropriations, but it can be used for that purpose once it's collected. I would just note, I brought you some handouts you can look at. It just goes through what that process is. It takes over a year to be able to take those funds, but as soon as you start, then, eventually, if it's done on a regular basis, it'll be a flow that flows to the general fund every year. We just haven't been following that because it hasn't been accepted. I know the treasurer was interested in that at some point, and I don't know what the mayor's position is on that. Obviously, he would either sign it or not sign it when it was accepted, but it seems like it certainly would be some source of revenue for the general fund, and it could be used for this purpose and for any other general fund purpose through appropriation.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's the problem, any other purpose that the mayor might want to use it for and not specifically
And that's
this.
specifically
Correct.
to improve the unaccepted roads.
Once we get the money.
I think Mr. Welch has something that he wanted to share with us. You brought something that you want to share with the committee members?
That's okay.
You need to turn the microphone on.
Here we go. So I'm requesting that this committee put a resolution together and present it to the city council to accept Jade Street. Jade Street was part of the Westwood Acres development, Temple and Jade. Then there was the final development of Temple and a few of the circles in the pond. At that time, they didn't request or demand a bond on it. But when the developer turned the extension over to the city and all the plans and all the roads, they released the bond for Westwood Acres, the original bond for Jade Street and the original Temple. Now Temple is completely accepted, even though the rights for the road for Temple were never turned over, just like Jade Street. So I put all of those attachments in that email, and I also put in the as-built plan or document for Jade Street. I've shared that with you before. I don't know why we wouldn't want to get that street accepted. It was built along with Temple, and then the Temple extension released a bond for the original development. Why we wouldn't just get that road accepted? We have a housing authority on there. I've dropped Nelson Ave. I was pushing this with Nelson Ave before. I've conceded whatever happens for Nelson Avenue, but there still isn't a reason not to have Jade Street. So I have 9 out of the 10 abutters and residents on Jade Street have all signed up. One hasn't signed because I couldn't get them to come to the door. And their house is in pretty bad shambles. Their front window sill is all rotted. Their back stairs are falling down. I don't think they really care about Jade Street getting maintained. They can't even maintain their own house. So, but the rest of the residents are all for getting the road accepted and getting on the list to have the road maintained after that. So that's my request.
Mr. Solicitor, the process here will be the same as discussed, right?
So I can take a look at that street. I'm not familiar with it. I didn't see the email yet, but I'll take a look at the materials and I can, see what we can do. Part of the problem becomes what state the road is in, and I don't know what state it is, and that's a decision that DPW looks at. So typically, we don't accept streets unless they're in up to standards. I don't know what the standard of the road is, drainage wise and whatever. And so this can be a problem with streets that are 5, 10, 15, 20 years old. And so we have, one street currently that we're working on acceptance that was from a development more recently that hasn't been maintained in many years. And that's what's holding that one up because before we accept that, DPW wants certain work to be done before we take it, because if we accept it the way it is, as soon as we accept it, there's going to be a demand to fix it. And so there's there's a long list of roads that are accepted that are needing fixing. So, but I'll take a look at the materials and see, whether legally there's any issue with it. There's sort of 3 pieces to this. There's the legal piece, there's the construction piece, or whether it's up to current standards and is in good repair. And then there's the cost piece of how are we going to fix it going forward and where is it going to fall in that list. So as we talked about, there is a procedure, even if it's not accepted, to have the road fixed with a betterment. And I know the council's, looking at that ordinance and whether it can change certain parameters of that ordinance. But there is an ordinance right now that would allow for that if people are willing to assume a betterment. And it's not 100% of the cost. I think it's 50% of the cost or something like that. But it's outlined in the ordinance. So, and it's a payment over time thing. So you're not outlaying, each person's not outlaying $10,000 or whatever. It's sort of, I think we had discussed earlier in some of these committee meetings, maybe having a hybrid plan of, people having it fixed with a betterment, and then it's in, now it's sort of meeting standards and it's more ripe for acceptance because now it's been fixed. So now we can move that to the next level. I would assume if we did something like that where we had a list and fixed certain streets with betterments under that ordinance, and DPW was doing that work, presumably if we had, the engineering capacity, we could do those engineering plans ourselves as part of that process and then move them on to a public acceptance process. Sounds like something that would potentially make sense to me. I don't know if DPW has that capacity or not, but.
Yes, Mr. Welch.
I would think we would want to accept any road that would meet, because Jade Street, and I tried to forward this email, but the attachments weren't going to go, so I'll do it when I get home. But the road is the same road as Temple is today. It's got the little curb, doesn't have the sidewalks, but neither does Temple. I would think we would want to get as many roads accepted for the Chapter 90 funding as well. It just goes on the list of when do you repair it. So.
Right, so I know Jade Street a little bit, and it's not in disrepair. It was built to the same standards of subdivision at the time as Temple. So like you're saying, it has, hot top curbing, not granite curbing. And I didn't look at the as-built too closely, but there's an as-built plan of how it was done. So the engineering has been done to some degree, whether it's 100% complete, and that's where we need the solicitor. But a lot of the work for Jade Street, I think is going to be completed already. And I think that's one that we're going to be able to say, yes, we can move that one forward and bump it to the top of the list. There's one we can get on the list and get it accepted because of the condition that it's in. It's not in disrepair. Every street needs some repair, but
Yes. Mr. Welch, I just sent the email to the solicitor as a forward, because we're on the same system, so he got the attachment. Yes, thank you.
So, what do we have next on the agenda?
so maybe in the next 6 months, we could get one off the list.
Hopefully, because I feel like we are in the same circle. So we just discussed the acceptance of the Section 9.8. A question, Mr. Solicitor. Do you want this committee to work on that ordinance and send it to you to review it, or you would like to draft it?
Which one?
The acceptance of that Section 9.8.
Oh, I can do that for you.
You can do
That's no
that?
problem. Yep.
Okay, okay. So I guess DPW is not attending the meeting?
Correct.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Welch.
I don't know why you won't push your button, but
Thank you.
Yeah, it is up, the map.
It is up, yes,
Yes,
I know.
yes,
I got
yeah.
on there today after I left City Hall. I went home, I brought it up, I looked at a few
Did you
streets.
test it?
I'm sorry?
Did you test? the
Did I
map?
test it?
Yeah,
Briefly, I looked at a few streets,
okay, so,
found a few errors.
oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. And I want to say that Micah is in a tough position by not having a master road list. So I've shared my spreadsheet with him a couple of times as I was developing things and bringing them up. But I don't think he's comfortable in saying, I'm going to use one, Bumpy Lane, because I grew up on Bumpy Lane. So I went to Bumpy Lane. Oh, it's a private road still. Well, the original city clerk's list listed Bumpy Lane as a private road. But it's plowed, the trash is picked up, so why is it labeled a private road when it should be an unaccepted road? That's all. So I had these mock-ups, and I keep talking about these mock-ups that need to be validated. I talked with Jimmy McCarty today about it. He says, well, who needs to validate them? Somebody needs it. Personally, I think it would be DPW come in and take a good look at most of the private roads that I've reviewed, I've labeled as unaccepted. So I have private/unaccepted to show that I think it should be changing. But these things need to be looked at. So all the private roads that I made unaccepted are being plowed and trash is being picked up. They were on the plow routes. They were on the recycle list. Yet, so he's working with his one hand tied behind his back, so to speak. We should get the list. We should have a master list for the city. Every road in the city.
I'm just wondering, Mr. Solicitor, how do we change the category on the,
So I would say a few things. Number one, that's what we're doing. We're working on getting a reliable master list, so that is everyone's goal. Number two, there's some confusion about the definitions that apply to this process. So there are accepted ways, there are unaccepted ways, there are accepted private ways and unaccepted private ways. So there are several ways in Methuen that are actually private accepted ways that have been accepted by the city council, but still private. So,
Well, they've been, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Go ahead.
So the fact that the city picks up trash or plows a street has absolutely zero bearing on whether or not it's an accepted way. In most cases, those additional services are extended at the discretion of the city to pretty much every way that is passable where there's a house. But that's at their own discretion, and no one's talking about taking that away, but I'm just saying it doesn't mean that it's accepted or not. And so we can take a look at the list. I haven't looked at the GIS list, and it does not surprise me that there's probably some errors on there as we go through this process. So I will take a look at that and see, to the extent that I can, if I can assist with that with Mr. Welsh, so that we can have a list that, is reliable. But just because trash is picked up or there's recycling picked up or it's plowed has no bearing on whether it's actually an accepted way. The only way it gets accepted is there was a document that town meeting accepted it. It was accepted by prescription, 150 years ago, or it was accepted by the city council later on. There's no other way that it works. And this is not our system. This is the antiquated, crazy system from the 1700s that every municipality and town in Massachusetts has inherited over these years. And so we work within those parameters.
Councilor Martin.
And we don't know that the people who live on a private way want the way accepted. We can't just assume that.
That is
right?
also true.
That's not an unaccepted way, would be something that they're not typically aware of, but a private way, and now that the map is a better map, and they find that out, they might like it that it's a private way. Because like Solicitor says, when we're still going to pick up trash, we're still going to plow it, we have to give out the basic services to all our constituents, all the residents, but they might want their street private. And
Well,
until
they
we
can-
can get them to petition us or the city to say, we'd like you to accept it, we cannot assume that.
Yes, Councilor Soto.
Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Welch, do you happen to know how many miles of unaccepted ways we have in the city of Methuen currently?
I can give you the mileage for roads that
The microphone, the mic.
Here we go, sorry. I can give you the mileage for the unaccepted ways that I've identified as unaccepted. I can give you the mileage for the accepted, the unaccepted, the private, the paper streets. Well, I can't give you the paper streets, but paper streets are paper streets. There's no mileage to them, so.
So for the purpose of our committee, could you have that available for the next meeting, or is that something that you have handy this evening?
No, I believe I've got all the mileage in right now. I'd have to go back and look and make sure I didn't miss a few streets, and all it requires is for me to go to the state, look at the state and see what they have for the mileage,
Okay.
whether unaccepted or accepted or private.
So the reason, if I may, Madam Chair, the reason why I'm asking you that question is because there are 3,200 miles of unaccepted roads in the state of Massachusetts. And so I want to look at what we currently have as unaccepted roads and put it in perspective as to a percentage.
So where did you come up
So
with the 200 miles
it's-
in the
it's-
state?
It's on the state site.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if I can have particularly the percentage of, I'm sorry, the mileage that you've come up with, because I know you've done that extensive work since '24, if we can have that, and then I can look at percentage-wise what that looks like, I can see where Methuen falls compared to the state as a whole.
You do know that the state doesn't distinguish between private and unaccepted.
You did point that out previously, yes.
So private roads would be in that 200
Would
as
be in
well.
that, and then to follow up, if I may, Madam Chair, through you to the solicitor, you specified the definition of private, public, unaccepted. That's in our municipal code?
No, these are they're not defined in state law, but so any road that is not accepted is unaccepted. Now, there can be an accepted public way and an accepted private way. And we have some of those in Methuen from a very long time ago. Usually, an accepted private way involved a very small number of houses, like that were maybe at an entrance to a farm or something like that. And, typically it might, like, for example, it might involve a neighborly dispute where 3 people or 4 people lived off of a pasture and they couldn't get along for whatever reason. Shocking. And so they came to the city council and said, they're blocking my way. I can't get to my garage. We all use this piece of land that belongs to, the 4 of us. We want this to be a private way. And the city said, okay, we'll make that a private way. We're not going to accept it as a public way because we don't want to bear the costs of maintenance, but we'll accept it as a private way, which means you folks can use it. It's open to the public, but you retain the responsibility for repair and maintenance. So it as an accepted private way, it becomes open to the public, but the maintenance and repair remains with the owners of the property. And so, and it didn't get accepted as a more widely public accepted street because nobody really uses it except those 3 or 4 or 5 people. Like it may be a dead end or it only accesses something like that. So there's a handful of those. It's not something you see generally in modern times. Mostly it's just unaccepted or accepted, or, an unaccepted way and a private way are essentially the same now. They're private, meaning somebody owns it privately, and unless the city takes action on that, then technically the public's not allowed to use it. You see that in some of the larger developments that are condo developments that are larger. They have a whole series of streets, and they're really only open to residents and visitors.
Any other questions? Because we have a meeting at 7 p.m. and I guess we covered everything on the agenda. So new business, none. Any other business for the good and welfare of the community?
I guess I'd like to ask the solicitor or even Mr. Welch if it would help to have identified the definitions that the state has for accepted, unaccepted, private, but as a city tie, what we currently offer if you're accepted, unaccepted, or private. So for example, you just stated that it doesn't matter if they receive recycling, plowing. That's a service that the city's willing to offer them. And that's why I believe there's a lot of confusion out there when you have people come to the podium that have been in Methuen for 60 years and they say, I get all my other services, but you won't pave my street. So I think if we were to put that out publicly, it may, if we talk about transparency all the time, but it allows us to let people know because now they can approach us for that betterment.
No, I hear what you're saying, and unfortunately, this has been, somewhere along the line, one of the mayors or town manager before that decided that certain services would be extended, whether or not the street was accepted. I don't know if that's by, just longstanding policy, but that's something I think you would want to address with the mayor directly about, I think what you're saying is we should have a policy and it should mean something, and so. Whether it's we will extend these services notwithstanding the status of your street. So just because you have them, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to extend further services or the opposite. Like if we're extending them, then it means you're accepted or, could be either way.
Is that a request that, Madam Chair, you as the chair of the committee could do to the mayor as far as that policy?
Do you have
I'm good.
anything to add? Mr. Welch? You're all set? Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Welch.
so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. And the
6:36.
time is
6:30.
6:36.
It is 7 p.m. here at the Great Hall at the Sears Building. I'll have the Madam Clerk take the roll call of the Methuen City Council.
Councilor Samad.
Here.
Councilor Valley.
Present.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Present.
Councilor Drew.
Here.
Councilor McLaren.
Present.
Councilor Marsan.
Here.
Councilor Pesh.
Present.
Councilor Santos.
Here.
And Chair Soto.
Present. All here. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Acceptance of the agenda. I need a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Pesh, second by Councilor DeZoglio. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Unanimous. Motion carries. Let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could please remain standing. We have invocation this evening.
Yes. Lord, be the foundation of our lives. Guide our steps, our decisions, and our work, and the work in our hands. Help us not to rely on our own strength or understanding, but to trust your wisdom and your plans. Bless our homes. Bless the homes that we build, the family that we nurture, and the community that we serve. Watch over our city and neighborhoods and fill them with peace, unity, and the purpose. May everything we do to be built in your faith and integrity and love. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Moment of silence.
Thanks. We'll remain standing for a moment of silence for Mario Consoli, who passed away this Friday. His son David is a very active member of this community. Just a quick moment of silence. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated. Next on the agenda, Madam Vice, is public participation.
Do we have anybody on the? At this time, we will open up public participation. Speakers are reminded to state their name and address for the record prior to speaking. Each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 5 minutes to speak, and they will receive a warning when 1 minute remains and will not be permitted to speak after the allotted time. Speakers, as well as audience members, are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful and orderly manner. Any disruptive behavior may result in the immediate removal of such person to restore order and ensure the orderly conduct of this meeting. Thank you. Heather Plunkett. Oh. You want me to run your check?
Please. Give me one. Thank you. There is no mic on the. Oh, okay.
Where?
Okay. If you could bear with us. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Heather Plunkett. I live at 115 East Street. First, I just wanted to, I guess, mention or maybe question, our community is made up of many different backgrounds and religions, so I'm just curious why we're conducting a city meeting in the name of Jesus Christ. That was different. That's different. Kind of uncomfortable if you're not Christian. The next thing I wanted to speak on was Resolution TR 2625 about the social media safety for 16 and under. I was just curious on the initiative, which I think is being done in good faith. I think it's a good idea to limit social media access and to know what kids are looking at. My question is, if it's going to be on city devices given to kids to use, because we don't really use textbooks anymore, it's all Chromebooks and different computers. if you're going to limit access to that, meaning putting parental controls on, they can't access social media, but you also want to do a parental education and community outreach and research and reporting, I'm curious how you will get your information if they don't have access to it. How will you know what kids are looking at if the public devices don't have access? Are you wanting to know what they're doing on their personal devices at home? How would you create a report and study based on that information? So that was my first question. I don't understand how that would work. Secondly, on the parental education and community outreach, the mayor and his mental health task force would create a parent toolkit and distribute materials to schools. I'm just curious of who would determine the validity of the material being distributed. What experts are being used to determine if this information is credible, not credible. As we all know, there's a lot of information on healthcare in general, mental health. There's a lot of different philosophies just in medicine of what will work for one ailment over another. So I'm curious how just a task force would determine what kind of material we should distribute, what really is good for mental health and not for children 16 and under. I'm down for the idea. I think it's awesome. I just want to know who's going to determine this information and is it credible? That would be my question, and I think if you're going to vote on it, that should be transparent, just so that we know how the studies are being conducted. Also, if you did discover something, is someone going to be given a list of students? Are you looking at this as individuals or the community as a whole? Because I wouldn't want a child that says 8 years old to be labeled in a certain way and then have that follow them all through their school year because they looked at something. For instance, let's say a child that's 10 or 11 looks at something about LGBTQ. Somebody has determined that that's not okay. That's mentally unhealthy. So now is that child labeled? I'm just curious of how the information will be determined. What's determined healthy, not healthy? And what will we do to ensure the safety of kids, the privacy of children, and also the privacy in the home? If you're monitoring private devices, that just seems a little bit of overreach for the city to do. So those are my comments. That was everything. Overall, I think it's a great idea. We just want to make sure that anything we're giving out is validated and helpful rather than potentially hurtful. Thank you.
Deb Wilkins.
Hi, everyone. Deb Wilkins, 55 Sugar Hill Circle on the West End. And I just wanted to say good evening to everyone, Mr. Mayor, Madam Chair, and all the other council members here. I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about the residential kitchens and the preparation of cottage food in them. And want to personally thank Councilor Valley for sponsoring this ordinance for the city of Methuen, along with the co-sponsors of Councilor DeZiglio, as well as Council Soto. Very excited to be here today to talk about this, to see that you were all open to have this discussion, and wanted to just talk a little bit about the benefits of the cottage food preparation in a residential home. And some of it is pretty straightforward. Some of it might be a little bit outside the box. But for the most part, supporting any small owned local business is a win for a city, for any city. And in this case, we can even add a couple more because we're a small local women owned business. So that's even another positive for us. There is a very low safety food risk with cottage food. Cottage food, as to just familiarize yourself with them, non-hazardous type food, shelf-safe, stable food, shelf-life, stable food, food that does not require refrigeration. Okay, so very low risk. You could consider it baked items. I know there's various examples, popcorn, things of that nature. So very low safety risk there. Very little to no startup cost for us small business owners who, just starting out, we don't have any money. And this is the reason why we're looking to start up a business, is to grow some of that money. So having the ability to do it in a residential kitchen is really going to help us hopefully flourish. And it also gives us a good chance to see, hey, is this right for me? It might not be right for me. I may not have the time. I may not have the dedication. It may be too much of a demand. I don't know. But in any of those scenarios, it gives us that opportunity with very low risk and very little money, startup cost. It's a safe and affordable way for us to operate out of our residential kitchen. It is providing economic growth for the city. And the hope would be is if our idea does take off and we want to continue to pursue it, we're going to stay in the city because you supported us. And we're going to potentially maybe look to a food truck or look to a commercial property. But right now, we don't have the time or the money, as I mentioned, to do this. It's also, by working out of our home kitchen, it's going to give us those flexible hours that we all need. But depending upon our given day, we may not be able to work, 8 to 4. Maybe we can only work 8 to noon one day and 12 to 4 the next day, or maybe it's a weekend. Who knows? But we have that level of flexibility. The city obviously is going to generate, there's going to be growth and there's going to be some money that's going to be generated by the city, whether it be from permits, whether it be from licenses, whether it be just from overall local city growth. People are going to come to Methuen, whether it's to buy products, participate at the local fairs and farmers markets, whatever that might be that we're offering in the city of Methuen, the local businesses will be there supporting them. And then in turn, you're going to get consumers and residents coming into the city and who knows, maybe buy a house, maybe open a business, so there's lots of positives there as well. And one of the big things
Just
here.
1 minute warning, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm at my 1 minute already? Okay, thank you.
No, you have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
thanks.
Locally made products while maintaining these safety standards that protect our community. Our goal is to work with all of you, not to eliminate this idea or these thought processes, but let's work together. And I know we have the ordinance here tonight. I'm hoping that it will pass. And I also want to say that myself and Melissa Cavazos, as a small local business, we are more than willing to pilot this. I know there has to, as part of the ordinance, there's some recommendations for staffing. We are more than willing to pilot it. Let's go through the process. Let's see if it works. What can we do to help? The permitting, the licensing, whatever that may be. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and I hope you vote successfully tonight.
That was on the dot. You ended exactly in a minute. That was impressive. Is there anyone else that didn't sign up that would like to speak at public participation tonight? You can come up, sir. Just state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Eddie Santiago. I live on 98 Railroad Street. I just bought a house on 98 Railroad Street. I have 2 kids. I got an 8-month-old and an 18-month-old. And I noticed that the street has a lot of traffic. I was thinking about doing a petition for that. My wife already typed one out, and I just wanted to know how can I get, go upon that. I don't know, maybe I should read it. We, the residents and community members, respectfully request the installation of wide speed bumps on Railroad Street, specifically in the area where the rail trail parking begins. The section of Railroad Street has become increasingly dangerous due to the high volume of vehicles traveling at excessive speeds. The risk is compounded by the fact that this is not only a residential neighborhood, but also a key access to point for the rail trail, a space where families, children, runners, walkers, and cyclists gather daily. The combination of residential activity and recreation use demand heightened safety measures. Wide speed bumps would serve a crucial traffic calming solution, encouraging the drivers to reduce their speed and remain alert as they pass through the shared community space. By implementing this measure, the city of Methuen would be taking an important step toward protecting residents who live along Railroad Street, ensuring the safety of families and children accessing the rail trail, and preventing accidents and creating more livable neighborhoods and in the environment. Also, there was an accident 2 days ago in front of my house, about 50 feet away from where my babies sleep. I didn't take any record. It was late at night, but my wife also states that a lot of people are hitting the curb where it seems like it turns into like parking, and then it turns into like a one-way street. And I just wanted to know, how can I get, go upon that? one lane where it hits the 5 corners. So that's also an issue. I have everybody in the community and on the street that agrees, and I just want to know how can I take a step forward in making sure that this area, it's the future of my kids. So I just don't know the further steps of taking, but that's all I got to say. It's a privilege, and God bless everybody here.
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. You have 2 city councilors in the Central District. You have Ms. Ella McLaren, Mr. Santiago, which is here to my left, and you have Janilda Santos. And so I would encourage them and yourself to connect in that matter so you can work together. Thank you for coming this evening. With that,
We do have an email to be read into the record, Madam Chair, if there's nobody else that wants to speak. Good afternoon, Nellie. My name is Jason. I live at 107 Anderson Drive. I'm a recipient for the City Council meeting agendas via email. Professionally, I'm Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for Auto Use, an independent auto finance company headquartered in Andover. I have a question regarding the contract for 25 HP laptops and accompanying 24-inch monitors. Who is responsible to source the requirements for these computers and request pricing? In my opinion, the per-user cost at $1,267.99 seems excessive. I truly do not mean to deliver this as a complaining resident. However, based on my experience, I believe that this could have been satisfied for less money. Signed, a concerned resident with a wife and 2 children attending MPS, also experiencing increasingly elevated costs throughout all facets of my daily life. Thanks, Jason Matola. Am I reading this in as participation?
public.
Good afternoon. I would like to request a moment of silence for Emmanuel Damas, a Mass resident who died due to medical neglect for an Immigration Customs Enforcement camp. Thank you for your ongoing commitment to highlighting senseless political violence. Kelsey Shabelia, 22 River Ave. And with that, Madam Chair, we'll close public participation.
Thank you. Public participation is closed. Next on the agenda is organizational business. Councilor Samard, do you have an announcement for your Veteran Affairs Committee?
Yes, we're going to, our next meeting will be April 6th, I believe is the next meeting. Because of the St. Patrick's Day festivities this week, it was hard connecting with some of the veterans groups. So we also added Councilor Drew to our Veterans Committee, and thank you for allowing that, Madam Chair. So we'll be in full swing at our next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you for that this evening. We also have, as I mentioned last meeting, that we would assign council members to the Public Memorial Committee. So I am going to, I believe this side of the room has that assignment. I'm going to pass it on to this side, Madam Vice Chair. And I'll just read into the record. As ordered pursuant to Chapter 18A Memorials of the Methuen Code of Ordinances, the Chair of the Methuen City Council hereby appoints the following members of the City Council to the Public Memorial Committee for the purpose of recommending standards for evaluating requests for memorials on public property within the City of Methuen. Chair for this committee is Councilor Jana Pesh. Members are Councilor John Drew, Councilor Ella McLaren, Councilor Ryan DeZoglio, and I would act as 5th member as a tiebreaker as the council chair onto this committee. Ex-officio members will be the Mayor of Methuen, Mr. Beauregard, City Veteran Services Officer, and the Director of Community Development, or any designee that the mayor would like to appoint. This, and then there's instructions on there for you to follow as a committee. This is per Order 910, and I believe this was an order that was brought to the table and sponsored by Chairman Seva, Vice Chair Beauregard, and Councilor Samard and DeZoglio, and this was done, I believe it was in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So based on this order, we've appointed the new members to that committee. On your first meeting, you will, if you remain as chair, Madam Vice, or they can elect a new chair to that committee. So with that being said, we'll wait for that meeting to be called, and we can conduct that business. Thank you so very much. Also, Councilor McLaren, you had an announcement regarding your ad hoc committee, correct?
Yes, so on behalf of our ad hoc committee, it's addressing the audio, visual, and lighting technology in this here great hall. I have some information from our lovely director of Methuen Community Studios, who's been working very hard to put this survey together to assess those very technical components of this hall. I just wanted to share with all of my fellow counselors that the survey has been shared with you via email. There is also on each of your desks this QR code that you can scan. We would really appreciate it if you could all give your feedback as we're assessing if this survey is the best way of compiling the information we need. And then for the public as well, up at the podium by the mic, there is a pile of this pamphlet with the QR code on the front. We'd really appreciate your feedback if you've ever participated in the public participation format. I believe it's also on the door. So if you have the time, we'd appreciate that if you could answer a few questions. And that is all.
Thank you, Counselor. With that being said, next on the agenda, we have reading and acceptance of the minutes for the previous meeting of March 2nd, 2026. It was a regular meeting. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor DeSaglio. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have proclamations, correspondence, citation for Mr. Johan Lopez and Mrs. Walkiria Mansueta. This citation is from Counselor Santos in the Central District.
I am very honored tonight to present the citation to Walkiria Mansueta and Johan Lopez. They opened their independent real estate office home shop properties in 2009 in Broader Street, 2025 Broader Street, where they help hundreds of Methuen families to achieve their dream of becoming homeowners. Beyond the real estate, they invested in rehabilitation of the downtown Methuen and renovated several properties, including the historical Old Fellow building, which was transformed into Marbella Loves and brought new families to Methuen businesses and to the square. Their dedication to the community also includes organizing the first Methuen Day Festival, supporting local organizations, and receiving the Historical Preservation Award from the Methuen Historical Association. They have repeatedly supported the Methuen Trail, sponsor many different local groups, and as well as participating in the Methuen Festival Tree, their favorite Methuen activity to take place with their family. Today, I am very honored to present a citation to Johan and Walkiris.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this recognition. We've been very blessed to take part in the growth of Methuen. We've been in this chambers many times supporting different initiatives, and it feels good to be here and receive this. On behalf of our family, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For joining us this evening. We'll take a 5-minute recess for the photo op, if that's okay. Thank you. City Council regular meeting, Monday, March 16, 2026. It is now 7:27 PM, returning from our 5-minute recess. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Councilor Samad.
Here.
Councilor Valley.
Present.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Present.
Councilor Drew.
Here.
Councilor McLaren.
Present.
Councilor Marsan.
Here.
Councilor Pesh.
Present.
Councilor Santos.
Here.
And Chair Soto.
Present, all here. Back to business. Consideration of appointments, there are none. Presentation, projects, department, and updates, we have none, but we do have the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just begin by sharing that the CAFO is dealing with some sick kids tonight, so she's not with us, but I'm happy to pinch it for her, so to speak, tonight. I'll otherwise dive right into my report. Regarding all things related to municipal solid waste, the city had a 1-year renewal remaining in its contract with Harvey that could be exercised at the city's sole discretion. After reviewing the current market for trash, recycling, and disposal services, it became clear that exercising that option could be in the city's best interest because it locks in existing rates that would otherwise increase significantly based on current market conditions. Through recent negotiations with the contractor, the city has reached an agreement with Harvey for the coming year and secured several favorable concessions. First, Harvey has agreed to reduce the city's bill for carts by $200,000. That's 40%. Those are costs that the city would otherwise have incurred if the contract had been terminated or if the final year had not been exercised. Second, the contractor has agreed to directly handle things like cart swaps, deliveries, and repairs in-house, which is something that I had been pushing for us to secure in terms of services from potentially a new contractor. Third, Harvey will conduct a citywide rollout of its app, so residents can contact the company directly regarding trash collection or cart-related issues. This would remove the city as a middleman and help make the program a bit more efficient through that way. Finally, the company has agreed to deploy a bilingual team member to work with city staff as needed to assist Spanish-speaking residents. These changes will be formally executed shortly through the 1-year renewal document, which is currently being prepared by procurement with assistance from the solicitor's office. At the same time, the city's RFP for long-term trash and recycling services remains active. That RFP has been amended to seek services beginning July 1st, 2027, which provides additional time to solicit competitive bids from both regional and national contractors. Next, regarding Murphy's Farm, many of you know that I appealed the decision of the Dracut Zoning Board approving the Murphy's Farm development in Dracut. It's a project that is very likely to have significant traffic impacts on Methuen. That appeal led to a mediation session on Friday involving the city's legal team, our economic and community development staff, and our consulting engineer from TEC. Prior to mediation, the developer had committed $200,000 for traffic mitigation, benefiting the city of Methuen under certain conditions through an agreement with the town of Dracut. But as a result of Friday's mediation, we were able to secure an additional $400,000 from the developer for traffic mitigation in the Wheeler Street area, bringing the total commitment to $600,000 for the city of Methuen. This puts the city in a much stronger position to leverage additional funding from the state for the eventual construction of traffic improvements. As with any litigation, there is never a guarantee that any concessions will be made, so securing these additional resources represents what I think is a positive outcome for the city, at least in the context of the land court case. The process is still far from over. The next phase will move into engineering and traffic planning, where all options will remain on the table as we work with the town of Dracut and Mass DOT to develop the safest possible traffic configuration for residents in that area. So we'll continue to keep the council in the loop on that. I also want to provide a brief update on our work to address the long-term facility needs for both our DPW and public safety departments. The needs assessment for a new DPW facility is complete by not Woodard and Card, Weston and Sampson, and we are currently in the process of conducting a similar needs assessment for a potential new public safety building. Once that work is complete, the next step will be site selection. My thinking is that we need a combined headquarters for both the police and fire departments and a separate DPW facility. This is a process that'll help the city determine the most practical and cost-effective locations to support the operational needs of these departments and the long-term needs of the community. As these discussions move forward, we will continue to keep the city council and the public informed as we work through the planning process. I will say that this is now moving at a faster pace than it has at any other point in recent years, so I'm excited about the progress that's underway. During the last meeting, I informed you of my plan to submit a community project funding grant request to Congresswoman Trahan's team to help get us get after phase 2 of the Arlington Neighborhood Infrastructure Project. I'm happy to share that the project was one of roughly 20 projects across the district that the Congresswoman selected. So we're moving forward to the next level in terms of securing additional funds from the federal government to help us complete that ongoing project. Regarding the Searles Estate, I will be scheduling a briefing for the City Council on Monday, April 6th at 6 p.m. Before the next regular meeting, I'll be in touch with the chair about coordinating the special meeting to facilitate that update. Regarding upcoming events in our city, the grand opening event for Aroma Joe's on Haverhill Street is happening on Wednesday, the 18th of March at 1 p.m. That's this week. The St. Patrick's Day parade, organized, of course, by Councilor Drew, Councilor DeZoglio, and others, is happening this Saturday, March 21st at noon. The parade route is, in essence, the reverse route of the Santa Parade, starting at Nicholson Stadium and ending at the Pelham Street Park and Ride. The Methuen Literacy Partnership is hosting their launch event at the Timony on Tuesday, March 24th at 6. The city's annual Easter egg hunt will be held up at Great Court on Saturday, April 4th at 11 a.m. Lastly, I'm planning Methuen's annual Earth Day cleanup festivities for Saturday, April 25th. We'll share more details about those events on the website soon, and that'll do it for tonight's Mayor's Report. Happy to take questions.
Any questions for the mayor or any updates on your items or clarifications? I'll start with Councilor Marsan.
Thank you. Just with Murphy's Farm, are we going to be able to cut Copeland and Page loose soon on that?
Well, it's one of the challenges with that litigation is that keeps them in the mix and us paying them the legal bills. So
Once we resolve the...
exactly, yeah, that's the thinking.
And are we looking at water rates for Drake it?
So that's
Specifically
something
when we
that
outsource rates.
Yeah, so we provide Drake with a portion of their supply. They get most of it, I think, from Lowell, but they do get a portion from us, and that's something that is an ongoing discussion, especially with TEC. So that's something that we'll certainly keep the council apprised on if we get anywhere in that context. But only progress at this point to report is regarding the land court case.
Thank you.
Councilor Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your update. I just have questions about the feasibility plan for the fire department, the police department, and the DPW. Do we have any timeline? I know you have been saying that, yes, the feasibility study is going to be conducted, but I just want to have an idea if we have like a timeline, when is this going to happen? When are we going to be able to see the outcomes of the feasibility study?
So we have some information from Weston and Sampson regarding DPW and their needs assessment. But when it comes to the site selection aspect, my goal is to try to narrow that down to a short list, which we're in the process of trying to do. I had a call recently with our contact at Weston and Sampson regarding trying to do that so that we don't have, say, a list of, half a dozen options to choose from. We can start to wind that down. But ultimately, the issue, Council, that we have is with space. Right now we have the Quinn Building space where police is housed. We have the Central Fire Station. So when we talk about looking for space for a combined facility, that does present some challenges regarding current land available to do something like that. On top of that, we have the DPW factor there. So, I have some things that I am considering. I've discussed some of them publicly in the past, but I want to remain cautious regarding some thoughts I have about possible sites. But nevertheless, it really hinges on identifying the best possible space. And that, of course, as we all know, is something that is not exactly straightforward in a community like ours. But long and short of it, this is something that has been an issue for decades, and we're finally getting after it, which is good. But in terms of an exact start date for any projects like this, it's hard to commit to that. But nevertheless, we're moving forward as fast as we possibly can on it.
Okay, can you just keep me informed?
Sure.
And another question I have is, are these projects currently listed in the city for the long-term capital improvement plan?
So we've had this conversation at the city council level about, for instance, a DPW facility, and originally former councilor Finicaro, former councilor Saba as well, put a strong emphasis on trying to use some ARPA funds for this, which, given the fact that we don't have an obvious site in mind for DPW, or at least we thought we had potentially the Batty property over in the east end of town, but there are a lot of environmental issues with that. So that's resulted in this being a bit slower than had otherwise been anticipated back when we received those tranches of ARPA funds back a couple of years ago. But given where we are now, we do have funding in the CIP for the feasibility study for the public safety building. So this is something, thankfully, the council saw fit to secure the funding for that in the CIP. So that part is in play. But beyond that, in terms of funding, say a new public safety building, new DPW facility, we would be looking at probably needing to do some long-term bonding in order to fund that. But at the very least, the initial aspects by way of the feasibility study, those are in the CIP now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
Any further questions? Oh, Councilor Samard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mayor, obviously winter's almost over, and I'm sure other councils are fielding complaints from constituents that are valid, the pothole saga.
I saw a post that had I think it was an AI-generated graphic of a pothole mermaid. Has anyone seen that? Yeah.
There's one on Forest Street, actually. Anyway, so I addressed it with Director Bauer, who was very receptive, and he's going to put it on the list. But I know we did a transfer of funds last week from Personnel Services, last meeting, $292,000. So I'm hoping that we can allocate funds from somewhere else, whether it be a transfer or maybe free cash. But I think we'll probably all fail in those calls, and hopefully we can focus on the main streets first before we focus on the smaller ones too. But I'm hoping that we can work with his crew and find money to pay his men and women. So that's my goal.
Absolutely. So just to provide some additional insights, we have funding in the CIP for roads. We continue to allocate funds for that every year. And, I think the challenge now for DPW is, they're doing their best to get out there and identify those areas that need some help. But I would encourage any of you, if you're fielding complaints from residents, pass them along to me and Pat and Felix from DPW so we can make sure that they're prioritized. I would also encourage residents to utilize the See-Click Fix app. And so this is something that's an annual challenge, and thankfully we have the resources to get after it. Just a matter of prioritizing needs as they arise. So thank you, Council.
All right, thank you. All set, Madam. Thank you.
Councilor Drew?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mayor, you spoke on Harvey and how we're going to continue with Harvey. A few weeks ago, we passed a position for the DPW to hire on a trash logistics coordinator. From everything that you said that we've now had Harvey kind of agree to, between handling the carts, dealing with the missed trash pickup issues, and the helping to inform residents with the bilingual piece, how do you see this position going forward? Is it still going to be a necessity? Because a lot of that, from my understanding, was part of that job description.
Yeah, so I still view it as a critical necessity. So right now, for instance, with the carts, we have the system through OpenGov for people to order carts, and that, of course, has been a mess over the course of the past several years, just in terms of taking those orders in and placing the bulk order and then distributing them. So this is something that I think the vendor all along should have had responsibility for, so this will correct that. When we talk about the assistance in terms of bilingual services, that would be someone who would be able to help, but we still certainly need that designated point person to be out there in the community enforcing the trash ordinance and such. Having the help from Harvey will be an aid to the ultimate person selected for the sanitation role. But keep in mind, too, that contracts come and go. And so we're going to be at a point where with potentially a new vendor in July of 2027, we're going to have a transition potentially from Harvey to a new vendor. And so we need some consistency in terms of being out there, enforcing the ordinance, communicating with residents. And ultimately, that's a function that is not fulfilled by Harvey. That person who's just living and breathing the trash program, being out there in the community. So this, in effect, will help us to do things that I had already been planning on doing with a hypothetical new vendor. We're just able to get after it sooner, and with Harvey, and still proceeding as planned with the hiring of the sanitation coordinator.
Thank you. Just one more quick question on, we're going to be saving, it sounded like $200,000 from the giving back on the carts.
Right.
Is this going to help us? Because I'm assuming we're going to see a deficit with all the snow and everything that we saw over this past winter. We had an update a couple of weeks ago. It sounded like we were just over $1 million or so already in a shortfall. Are we expecting to see a bigger, and I know the CAFO's not here tonight, would you like to speak on how much of a shortfall we would anticipate so that this maybe might be something that's going to help us staying with Harvey?
Yeah, so this past winter, last time I checked Munis, this past winter has cost us roughly $2.293 million in terms of snow and ice removal and the like. So that is something that we end up having to go to free cash for every year. But nevertheless, not having to pay the total amount that we would have owed for that payment in the last year is certainly going to help. I do think another thing that I didn't mention, this is something that we're exploring internally. Right now, all of our waste is shipped to a landfill, I believe in Wakefield. And so that, of course, comes with it a price tag for per tonnage disposal costs. And something that we're exploring internally is the prospect of looking for a partnership with a vendor to provide services along the lines of waste to energy incineration. Thinking of, for instance, right up 495 in Haverhill, there's the Covanta plant. They provide that type of service, and that can save municipalities a significant amount of money in the context of tonnage, simply by way of reducing the cost of disposing of trash. So there are certain other areas that I think we need to look into to find ways to save some money. But certainly having that bill cut down that we would have otherwise had to pay is certainly a help.
Thank you. So roughly, we're looking at about a $2 million shortfall because of the amount of snow we've had this year that we may have to. Okay, just want to make sure we're planning for our budget season that's upcoming. Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions on the mayor's report? Councilor Samard.
Madam Chair, thank you. One more thing, and related to Harvey. I know when we first got on as councilors, we heard this song and dance from Harvey. They were the best thing since sliced pie, and it hasn't been the case. And I hope that we hold them accountable this time, because, quite frankly, they hold us hostage because they know if we get rid of them, no one's going to get our trash. So I hope we stay on top of it, and I hope they come through, but I'm not too confident they will. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, that I agree with the frustration. I've had the same frustration. I think this also speaks to having that sanitation coordinator in place to really be our eyes and ears and help us, I think, do a better job at tracking any violations of the contract. I think that's a really key part of this, where if we're expecting to hold our residents to, say, the trash ordinance, we'd also be better holding the vendor to their side of the contract as well. And I think having that designated point person out there in the community being our eyes and ears is going to go a long way.
I agree 100%. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? No, okay. The CAFO's not here. Mr. Mayor, you said you would do your best on those items, or we should leave them on there just for the next meeting?
Probably a good idea to leave them on. These are a couple of things where I think will benefit the council from having some detailed reports and the like. So that's something that'll defer to the CAFO, but I would recommend leaving them on for the next meeting so we can provide them to you.
Okay, thank you. So for the council, I did text with the CAFO before the meeting, and I asked for her to kindly reply to these requests to the council as a whole. Hopefully she can do that. But we will leave it on the agenda for the next council meeting. We do have, want to remind you that contracts are a one-read item, and without the capo here, if you feel that you have reservations, please keep that in mind as well as with your resolutions. Okay, so your request to counselors, I think, were pretty much answered by the mayor. Is there an item on there that you feel you need to discuss from any of you? But I believe he touched upon pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I would just say the GIS map for unaccepted waste, that's online. And I would encourage people too, as folks are going through that, if you notice any glitches or any issues, let us know and we'll take care of updating that. Echo Lane, I don't have anything. I'm sorry, Council, I don't have anything new to report on that, but good to probably keep it on just as a reminder. And then regarding the trash barrel issue that Councilor Drew had asked about, we are almost entirely through that list that we had to catch up on. So I believe there's 40 residences that are left on that, so that'll be completed by this week. So we'll be through that list completely and caught up regarding the barrels.
Okay, so is that, do you want to keep that on the agenda, Councilor Drew? The barrels?
Maybe one more meeting.
Okay, until they're done. And then the solicitor did answer your 9A question, so you'd like that removed?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And the GIS map as well can be
Perfect.
removed. Mr. Mayor, some discrepancies has been reported by one of the constituents on the map, so I will follow up with DPW on that. Thank you.
And then for myself, Mr. Mayor, is it safe to say that we didn't get any bids on the RFP for the garbage? Is that why you, was that your answer for extending? I missed.
So the city was getting some bids, but there were a lot of national and regional companies that were not able to commit to starting in 2026. So rather than completely start that from scratch, we just simply extended the RFP, changed the contract date, and that will allow for, I would say, a more competitive process with some of those larger companies able to participate in the process, which hopefully will allow us to do a little bit of a better job at shopping for the best deal.
And then a follow-up to that, your administration, or maybe that you're aware of, the Perry administration, did ever discuss doing the trash themselves? I know that existed in the past.
So that's something that, maybe from time to time, just in the context of planning, it might come up as like a conversation item, but it's not anything that we've taken seriously in terms of exploring that, just given, the issues with vehicle procurement and maintenance and staffing and what have you. And I think ultimately this is something that former Mayor DiZoglio dealt with during his time in office. Granted, I was a child at that time, but I've read his book, and he refers to the difficulties with switching from, at the time the city was a town, the town had their own in-house trash program, and they found that it ultimately was a cost savings to transition to working with a vendor. So, this is something that we certainly did have at one point, not since the 90s, I would imagine. But nevertheless, we're all ears about any opportunity to save money. And so, if, say, things were to change and it was just cost prohibitive to work with a vendor and there were opportunities perhaps for the city, I don't think we should certainly close the door. But it's not something that we are entertaining seriously at the moment.
Okay, thank you. All right, if you guys are satisfied, we can move on to our next agenda item. Public service grants, none. Licenses, there are none on the agenda. Contracts, C-2678, addendum to C-2578, Evoca Water Technologies LLC, 558 Clark Road, Tewksbury, Mass. 01876. Emergency waiver for the replacement of sluice gates and traveling screens at the water intake at WTP $335,850 to correct clerical error to reflect the current contract amount of $355,050. Is that correct? Is that still in it? It's being withdrawn? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That item's being withdrawn. C-2679 B&H Photo and Electronics Corp., 429th Ave, New York, New York. for 25 HP ProBooks, Windows 11, 16 GB, and 25 each of 24-inch monitors and docking stations in the amount of $31,699.75. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by DeZoglio, seconded by Councilor Samard.
I've just lost it. Excuse me, Madam
No.
Chair. What happened with C-2678?
It was withdrawn.
Oh, okay.
I missed that memo.
Thank you.
So I have a first on the table.
Point of order on 78, just a question, I guess, for myself. Do we have to vote to remove it from, because we agreed upon the agenda?
So that was withdrawn because I issued an opinion on that. So the original vote had the correct amounts in it, in the contract itself. It was only a clerical error on the face sheet. So the previous council vote did appropriate the full amount of money. And so that's why you don't need to vote on it again. So there
so we
are
don't-
some clerical errors that we would need to correct with a council vote, but that is not one of them.
So we don't need to make a vote as a council to remove it from our agenda, even though we approved the agenda at the
I'm
beginning
not
of
sure
the
how
meeting?
it got on the agenda, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a first, waiting on a second for C-26-79. This is on the HP ProBooks.
Second.
Second by Counselor Valle. Discussion.
You, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor DeZoglio. So this had come up during, of course, public participation. There was a resident that reached out with some questions about the cost and whether the city was getting the best deal. I just want to point out, and this is something that, if you are a resident who is not involved in the day-to-day activities of government, this isn't something that would be obvious to most. But just to clarify for any residents in the community who may be watching, the city is bound to various procurement laws. And so as part of this process, the city had to obtain 3 quotes from vendors. And this information is included. The pages aren't numbered, but it's towards the end, just before the quotes. And if any residents are following along in this document, you can look at it later if you're not looking at it now. We went out for the quotes, and this B&H contract was the lowest quote that we had received. So the highest amount was $38,212.25. The second highest amount was $35,999. And then the lowest quote was this amount, $31,699.75. So perhaps in the private world where those procurement rules aren't in place, it's a little different. But in the context of local government, we have to go out and get the quotes. And this was the best quote that came back as a result of that process as required by law. So I just thought I'd share that for context if that question were to come up.
Counselor DeZoglio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to say, have you, Mr. Mayor, to explain, because as we did on the school side, when we had to always explain the lowest bid, and that was one of the things. But the question I asked, the reason why we're doing 25 of them, is it because we're replacing old ones that are just out of date? Or is this what got us the best for our buck by going 25? Maybe we'll have extra ones. Yep. I'm sorry, can I recognize?
Absolutely, Counselor.
Can you hear me? Good.
Yes.
So during COVID, the city purchased 250 laptops at once, and part of a 5-year CIP plan that I made, we decided to buy, from 25 to 50 computers every year, so the city won't have the cost of buying 250 laptops at once. So probably in the year prior, you were not seeing me getting a contract for those, because I usually buy 20 at a time, so the contract, it's less than $25,000. And to clarify, to add more than what the mayor says, that residents see the price, because they usually, if you go to Best Buy, you buy a laptop for $400, $500. That's good for home use. Business laptops are made to be on 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Home laptops are usually made to be on 2 hours a day for like 4 days a week. So that's the difference on price between you go to Best Buy 1 and we buy business laptops that are supposed to be on 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. That's the difference.
Thank you.
Counselor Drew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask Director Santiago, did you have a chance to take a look at the procurement and make sure that each one of these, I'm not a technology guy. Computer's a computer to me. But you looked at each one of these and they're all level?
Yeah,
You're
for sure.
getting exactly what it is on each one, procurement-wise?
Yes, we usually, because on state contract, we have to send the same specs to at least 3 vendors, and they'll get back to you on quote. And because the purchasing process here is a little bit slow, sometimes we have to change the quote 2 or 3 times, because when we get the quote the next day, they don't have it anymore. So we have to see at least 5 or 6 quotes before we make a decision what we're going to get. And it's not just laptop, it's laptop, monitors, and docking stations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Counselor.
Thank you. Through you to Director Santiago. What do you do with the replacements?
Usually those are very old laptop now from 2026, but we try to buy the same family laptop, even though they have different maybe internal components, the outside component like the keyboard and the screen. If a user breaks them, that happens here all the time, then we take the old ones and replace the hardware that we can't replace, and that the rest that doesn't work, we'll recycle them.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lastly, just want to mention, since the CAFO isn't with us tonight, if anyone has any questions about funding, so this is coming from the CIP. There's an IT infrastructure line in the CIP, and right now we have in that line item $109,086 available, so there's plenty of funding in that line to cover the purchase. So just wanted to share that from a fiscal standpoint.
If you have to look up the, I'm sorry, my brain just went blank. The CAFO sent that on the 12th. If you have to look it up on your phones, because usually prints it for all of us and it's not in front of us. So if you have to look for it. Okay.
It was on our desk.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Counselor Marsan. All righty. Any more questions on this item before I go to call the vote? No? Perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations. TR 26-18. I'm sorry, Yeah. Other officers and committee members have any reports? Thank you, Mr. DeZoglio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we had our second Public Safety Committee meeting on March 12th at 4 here. To start off, we started with the safety of the rail trail discussion. We talked about how DPW is working on getting estimates of getting power down to the rail trail in some spots. We're also going to take a tour of the rail trail. I'm going to schedule it probably this week or next week. It's crazy for me as grades closed. So I'm trying to get grades done for my students. But we will be taking a tour of it. Another is to get a pathway that used to be near the police station and hopefully get that all cleared out so people can gain another access route outside to the police station, because we think as public safety, it's kind of be awful that if we can't get access to the police station from the rail trail. Another thing we talked about was the traffic light on Pleasant Valley Street going on to 213 near the old Walgreens. That's a personal thing for me, because as the traffic going towards the stadium and you are going to House Street, well, the left lane to go onto 213 is green while the other way is going green. We asked, why is that? Which people don't know that the other side is turning green. Where I've asked numerous what past accidents, and the chief has made it very clear there has been a lot of accidents over there, but unfortunately that belongs to the state. So we're going to go through Mass DOT to figure that one out. Also, this is something that's important to me that we will be bringing to the council in a few weeks is a resolution for the Willett family on adopting Methuen's proclamation of Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. I grew up with the Willett family. The father was my coach. I played basketball with Billy, but Austin was killed by a driver that was texting and driving while he was on his motorcycle and was killed. And I coached him in football for 2 years. So the family reached out to me to do this proclamation of education, and I would really thank the Madam Chair and Councilor Valley for supporting that. It was really appreciative of me for my fellow councilors to support that. Also, if you look up here, there's cameras now in the hall because of Councilor Valley taking the lead on that. So I appreciate her for all her hard work for doing that in such a short time. It makes our committee look 2 weeks. So, also, Madam Chair brought up an ordinance of utility permits for companies that come in and tear up our roads to hold them more responsible with letting residents know and other things like fines and all that stuff as well. So we're going to be following up with that. And also an ordinance to establish a process of getting a handicap sign in front of your house. We're going off of the Boston way. We're looking into that because some people, it just needs a better process because everybody feels like because they might have something, they're just entitled to that one spot. But they have to understand when you get a handicap like in front of your house, that's for all handicaps, not just you. So we'll be working on that to stay momentum because our committee seems to be going at full force. I'm going to try and get another meeting and then before our next meeting because especially the rail trail with getting connections with Mass DOT already. They're really excited for us to do the mural down at the tunnel. I'll be sending out a notice to artists in the city they're going to have to import their drawings because Mass DOT will not let us just do it without them knowing what we're doing. We'll be putting a plan together for lighting, etc. So hopefully we can move forward. Also, I did try to contact the mayor of Salem, Mass, because they just passed 34 historical lantern lights in their city for like $194,000, but one was a grant. So there are grants out there. So I'm trying to get in touch with the mayor to see how big that project is. Because and I want to thank Madam Soto for showing me that video. But it was like a bigger project. So I'm hoping I could get in touch with him. He could tell me how much it cost for that total project so we can stop possibly go that route to kind of get lights going down there. So a little exciting news, and I thank everybody for participating. Seems like everybody's on board for it. And hopefully we can do more with this. Sorry, that was a long meeting that day. So it was, but productive, and I appreciate that.
Very productive. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Valley, you have a report this evening?
Yes, we had today the Unaccepted Waste Committee meeting, and today's we discussed on improving the process, transparency, and accountability around unaccepted roads in the city, such as the petition requirements and the process for the road acceptance. We clarified the difference between unaccepted public waste and unaccepted private waste. There's a need to improve transparency on the city website, including a clear step-by-step petition process, requirements and points of contact. We also discussed funding options and the cost of the structured cost and the impact that is going to have on the residents. We also discussed friendly eminent domain as a potential tool to resolve ownership issues when necessary. A key issue raised was Jade Street versus Temple Street. Both are part of the same development, but Temple Street was accepted and the bond was released. Jade Street was not accepted, so we'll follow up with DPW to confirm whether Jade Street meets city standards and why it was excluded. So basically, that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Valley. Councilor Pesh?
Thank you. I just wanted to update, the last time the Finance Committee met, we had discussed April 8th as a meeting to meet along with the school side Finance Committee, and there is a scheduling conflict with MCTV on that day. So I just wanted to let the residents know that myself, Councilor Drew, Councilor Santos are working together along with the school side Finance Committee to try to find another date where we can meet, and I will keep the council and the residents abreast of that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any other reports or comments? Okay, thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, resolutions, TR 2616, resolution authorizing expenditure of $1,300 from the Castle Fund for the Methuen Business Alliance Greater Haverhill Chamber request of the Commission on Trust Funds. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor DeZoglio, seconded by Councilor Valley. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. TR 2618, resolution authorizing a transfer of $292,000 from the General Fund DPW Personnel Service Expenses to the General Fund DPW Other Expenses to fund increase in utility costs. It's a request of the mayor. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Valley, seconded by Councilor DeZoglio. Any discussion on this? Any question? None?
None.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. TR 26-19, resolution authorizing a transfer of $20,000 from the General Fund Fire Personnel Service Expense to a General Fund Fire Other Expenses to fund increase in utility costs. It's a request of the mayor. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor DeZoglio, seconded by Councilor Santos. Any discussion on this matter? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. TR 26-20, resolution authorizing a transfer of $10,000 to the General Fund City Clerk Other Expenses, of which $5,000 from Fund Economic and Community Development Personnel Services and $5,000 from the General Fund City Clerk Personnel Services to fund additional election-related costs as a request of the mayor. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Santos. Any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimous. TR 26-21, resolution authorizing a transfer of $2,500 from the General Fund Legal Personnel Service expenses to the General Fund City Council Personnel Services expenses to fund unanticipated personnel costs is a request of the mayor. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Santos. Any discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. TR 26-22, resolution authorizing transfer of $60,000 from the General Fund Economic and Community Development Personnel Service expense to a General Fund Health, Human Service, and Inspection Personnel Service expense to fund unanticipated personnel costs. Request of the mayor. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Santos. Any discussion on this matter? Councilor DeZoglio.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. To you, Mr. Mayor. What was the unanticipated cost?
So we had budgeted last year to hire a new building commissioner. We budgeted half a year for that person's salary. However, we ended up finding the right candidate well before we got to the halfway point in the year. And so given the fact that there were some openings in the economic and community development side, for instance, the economic development coordinator role that had been funded at, I think, 80 or 85,000 for the year. We're in the process now of hiring for that. So given the fact that we haven't used that line item so far, that allows us some available funding to utilize to cover the cost of hiring the building commissioner earlier than expected.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
For the record, Counselor Marsan abstains. Thank you. Motion carries. What is the count? 8 yes, 8 to 1 yes. Thank you. TR 26-24, resolution approving the, actually, I need a motion to delay on this until April 6th per the mayor's request on TR 26-24.
Motion to table to a future meeting.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor Samard. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. TR 2625, a resolution regarding social media safety for youth under the age of 16, the request of Mayor Beauregard, Councilor DeZoglio, Councilor Drew, Councilor McLaren, Councilor Pesh, and Councilor Valley. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor McLaren. Any discussion? Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During public participation, a resident had raised some questions about, namely the mental health task force, but also the question about some aspects of the resolution. Just to clarify for the council and any residents who may be watching, this will, in essence, establish a policy that formalizes something that the school department has been trying to do in terms of limiting access to social media on school-owned devices. This is a city policy, more broadly speaking, but also we're talking about this concept of developing resources for parents and talking about also a study that would take a look at the impact of social media use on our kids here in Methuen. That's the one aspect that is still a little open-ended, where my thinking with the study aspect is to perhaps partner with local civics groups within our own school district, but also this could be a great opportunity to partner with Northern Essex, Merrimack, UMass Lowell, et cetera, on finding an opportunity to put together more like a report, academic-style report along those lines. So I just wanted to clarify that, this isn't designed to be anything that would have political implications that had been suggested by the resident. This is more of, I think, a science-based approach to dealing with this issue of social media and its impact on the mental health of our youth without any other strings attached to it. I thought I'd just provide that context. Thank you.
Councilor McLaren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the mayor, I just wanted to provide the opportunity for an additional point of clarification on what the resident was discussing in regards to concerns that this might migrate somehow into looking at people's private devices, what students are viewing on devices that are not associated with school accounts. My understanding of this resolution is that that would never be an ambition of ours, but I just wanted to give you the floor to address why that is not the case.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So nothing in the resolution deals with any private devices. That would certainly be a huge overreach of government at any level to have any involvement in that. This is only any city-owned devices that are taxpayer funded and managed by the city. Thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So the thing, the reason why I support this is because I'm dealing with this with students right now that are 11 and 12 years old, where they result to these websites, TikTok, Instagram, all these things, and they are believing people on these websites. And for instance, and I'm not lying to you, I had a student that listened to someone on TikTok that said there was 47 planets in our solar system, and she brought it back and told me, and everybody's laughing about it, which is funny, but this is how they are getting their information from. They are believing someone that is sitting in their bedrooms or sitting wherever they are, because I'm not on TikTok, and believing them. And it's not making them smarter. It's not making them involved with the world around them. It's actually affecting them and how they can make critical thinking. Honestly, I put questions in front of my students all the time. They cannot make a thought without some type of device to look it up. And even when they look it up, they're not looking up the right information. So it's time, not just city, but I also believe state and the federal level needs to start taking this, because if you didn't see what latest report card that we got as a country, we failed in every subject, all right, in education. Right? I think, and don't quote me on it, but I think seniors graduated with like 38% on reading level, and I think 8th graders were like 41. But I will, before I make that totally public, we were below 50% nationwide. So it's because kids are spending more time on TikTok and Instagram and chatting away than actually talking to each other and sitting there with a book. That's just a fact. And anybody that wants to argue with me, that's fine. But I see it every day when I see the kids, when they get out of school, the first thing they do, because we have a phone ban in my school, the kids are not allowed to take out their phones at all. The second they get out of that building, the first thing that comes out of their backpacks is their phones. And they're on TikTok and Instagram or whatever they're else doing, just watching these videos that have no educational value to them. So that's how I feel. That's why I always want to support it. You can tell I'm venting.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Councilor McLaren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I echo a lot of those comments, Councilor Zacchio, but I want to make sure that we're not detracting from the point of this legislation, which is not to judge young people for their consumption of media. I want to make sure that this is a space where we are prioritizing young people's mental health, and that in approaching this legislation, we're not making anybody feel furthermore isolated or, like I said, judged by our attempts to mediate the mental health crisis that's going on. Really, we're not looking to do any sort of supervision of the specific media that they're consuming. I'm not interested in specific posts. I don't think any of us are. We're not trying to suggest that this generation lacks a capacity for critical thinking and we can somehow attribute that to this one social media issue. Really what this is about, by and large, is the mental health crisis. I want to make sure that we're very clear that that's what we are addressing. And we're not interested in monitoring any private devices. We're not interested in monitoring exactly what students are doing or being all up in their business. This is really truly about just giving them and their families the tools to navigate what can be a very complicated relationship with this 24/7 access to other people's highlight reel of their lives. Thank you.
Great, thank you. There's no further discussion. I'll go to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, Madam Clerk. All right, ordinance, there are none. New business, resolutions, TR 26-26, a resolution amending the city council rules regarding moment of silence, sponsored by Councilor Samard. Councilor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we can all agree that the spirit of the moment of silence would be to honor those residents or people that are associated with Methuen who have passed, where we show them the proper respect at a council meeting. So I think we all get that. In recent past, during some meetings, I did a little research, and one of the persons that we remembered was from Minnesota, another was from Chicago, another one was from LA, and some weren't even recent. So I think it detracts from who we honor here in Methuen. And I spoke to the chair as to how those names were submitted, and she said it was through the proper channels, and she gave me guidance on how to start a resolution, because we had to change the council rules. So then I contacted the solicitor who helped draw this resolution up, and I was in favor of it. Several councilors contacted me with friendly amendments that I'm very receptive to and agreement to, that we could tweak it, and I will open the floor in a second. But I think we as far as any political remembrances, I think there's a different forum for that, and I'd be more than happy to direct that person to proper permitting processes if they want to do a vigil or something to that nature. But I think we got to keep it simple. We got to keep it to people that are associated with Methuen or who contributed to Methuen, whether it be at the local, state, or federal level. So that's why I wanted to do that resolution, and I appreciate the solicitor's help in authoring this resolution. So thank you.
Councilor Gizaglio.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I agree with Councilor Samad. Moment of silence to me is not political. It's to honor the people that, have done impact to the city and have contributed, or just being a resident. And in my sense, you can call me selfish, but I care about my little bubble of the city of Methuen. And as an elected official, my job is to take care of the people of Methuen. So please, to me, let's keep it to Methuen and not politicalize it. Thank you.
So I got to backtrack, because we're discussing before the motion and the second. So can I get that, please?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Pesh. Thank you for that reminder, Madam Clerk. And so we're in discussion again, and thank you for that. No worries. Is there a follow-up, Councilor Pesh?
I'll just, I agree with what's been said, and I want to thank Councilor Smart for bringing this forward. I know it was on our minds. I just think as a nonpartisan board, a lot of the names seem somewhat political in nature, and we just don't want to be off-putting to any residents coming before this board. We want to be accessible. We want it to be a comfortable space for our residents to openly participate for whatever. So thank you for bringing this forward, and I am in support of it.
Councilor Santos.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to Councilor Smart. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I reached out to Councilor Smart, and I spoke to him about this, and the only thing that I see on it is that we wouldn't be able to, with this resolution, that we wouldn't be able to honor anyone aside of Methuen, such as let's say the legislator passes, like a senator or a police outside of Methuen. Someone that is out in the army, we wouldn't be able to honor those people that are serving our country. So I feel that if we just added to the resolution something along that line, I'll be able to agree to it. And I brought it up to him, and he also agreed to the change.
Are you making an amendment right now to that resolution?
Yes, a friendly amendment.
Okay.
To add anyone that have served in our government or our army.
Or are we noting the amendment? 'Cause I'm gonna need, okay. Government or military? Okay, so I have a friendly amendment on the floor. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Counselor Drew. Any discussion on that amendment? Yeah.
Would they have some tie to Methuen? Like, would it be a relative, or is it just any, like anyone in the world, military?
Not anyone in the world, but anyone in our tied to our government.
So anyone in the U.S. government or anyone in the U.S. military?
Counselor McLaren.
If we addressed not just, thank you, Madam Chair, we addressed not just anyone in the world, which implies that there would be some sort of tie to Methuen, presumably for somebody to bring this forward, in which case I think that the friendly amendment is kind of already addressed in the members of the Methuen community who have lived, worked, studied, or otherwise contributed positively to the Methuen community. To me, we can make the extrapolation based on that wording that includes relatives of Methuen residents who, for example, are in the Army or legislators or wherever it may be. I think that what you're saying is, to my understanding or reading of this resolution, already sort of encompassed.
I respectfully disagree with that in the sense that if we had some military members who died in a Black Hawk across in the current fight that we have going on in the Middle East, that may be something that, as a veteran himself, Counselor Simard may want to recognize because that matters to him as his brothers in arms may have passed. So they may not have a direct tie other than Counselor Simard. So I would say as a military force that if there was some sort of big issue there, obviously if it's a one-off that we may not hear of, we may not do that. But I think having that line in there may allow for situations of that.
I would deflect that question, I suppose, to a veteran if you're interested in clarifying what that means to you.
No, I think you're kind of generalizing that, and it covers, I think, what she's saying, what he's saying, what I'm saying. I think that we could twist it as a council to say, yeah, that there's relevancy to Methuen, that a soldier who's protecting our freedom here in Methuen would qualify to be remembered at this meeting. So I think I agree with what she said to me yesterday, Councilor Santos, when she called me. So it's just the wording, and we keep it generalized, and I think it makes it easier, I think. And I would trust the chair and the vice chair to, if they could make that decision without it even coming to the floor, where we discuss it and possibly embarrass someone who presented that, I think we'd be better off. So,
Counselor Pesh.
So I guess here's my confusion, and I'm just opening this up for debate. So military, I would agree with Counselor Drew, but again, to Counselor McLaren's point, we drew it back to someone on the council who might have a connection to that person, right? Or someone from Methuen who might say, hey, listen, I'm a Marine, I'm really upset, my brothers, or whatever the appropriate wording is, passed at this or that. My concern is when you say any government member, now we're getting into issues of, let's say, congressional members that die or don't die from one political party or not. We're bringing it right back to where we are already. And that's the concern. Not that it may or may not be tragic, not that people may or may not feel a certain way about it, but again, we're politicizing something over and above the concerns that directly affect this body. So that's my only concern. I get what you're trying to do with it. I feel like by adding that, we're going to be right back in. And quite honestly, Councilor Simard, I don't know how the chair feels. I don't want to be the one saying yes or no and having to answer to the residents.
I just feel that we just need to honor people that serve our country one way or the other, impacting our city in some way, because...
I'm sorry, you have the floor.
Yeah, so impacting our city in some way. So I just feel that we just have to honor those people. That's it. And that I just want to make sure that they are included in the resolution.
So I agree with that entirely. But again, you said they impact our city. So you're bringing it back to the city, which I agree with. I just think the wording needs to reflect that they somehow have some tie to this body, which encompasses the interest of the residents, right?
So let's say that the president passes away. Can we...
the who, I'm sorry?
The president.
Yeah.
Let's say that he passes away. Can we hold a moment of silence for the president or no? Because he does have ties our city. And the Senate too. I mean, every legislation that they pass affect us one way or the other.
Well, I don't agree with that statement. I think the president may affect our country as a whole. So yes, I would agree with the president, but I don't think every legislator would impact us the same way.
Counselor DeZoglio?
Yeah, I could see his point. Yeah, the president is a totally different, but if it's a congressperson that I don't even know the name of, passes away in California, I'm not going to take a moment of silence to the congressional person from California. Now, if it's a congressional person from Massachusetts, then yeah, we take a moment of silence for that possible person because it impacts our city. But I'm not going to, if every old congressional person passes away, then we're going to have a moment of silences at every other meeting. Where are we going with that? I think we just keep it to the ties of the city of Methuen.
Let's keep it to the tie of the city of Methuen and Massachusetts. I send it to Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I have a question or point of information for the solicitor. Just for clarification, isn't this within our rules and regs already something that the chair has discretion to do? So for example, and I know the concerns of my fellow counselors, the emails that we had been receiving for moments of silence, at a discretion to the chair could say, we'll put them in the minutes, but we won't read them out loud. Now, some may contradict that all lives matter, and if someone brings a life that has passed, they should all be held with that moment of silence. That's an argument as well from a phone call I received. So I just want clarification from the city solicitor as to, I know the question, and again, as my duty as the chair, I will never tell you not to put something on my agenda. That's not my role. My role is to make sure that you get what you need on this floor. But I really want clarification as one of the duties of the chair. Is that something that, in my case, and that's why you saw all that on the floor, I put everything on the floor. Everything that was a request of my constituents.
So, a couple things. There's nothing in the rules that addresses this issue. An individual counselor could put a moment of silence on the agenda if they wished. When this issue was raised and I was asked to address it, I think it's appropriate for the council to address it as best it can in the rules. I would say that simpler is always better, but the council can address it this way. It can massage the language. It can leave it all to the discretion of the chair, whatever it wishes. I make no judgment about what is the better way of doing that. I will say, I think that the language in here would allow for what Councilor Santos is interested in. It says, as Councilor McLaren pointed out, who has worked, studied, or otherwise contributed positively to the Methuen community. It's a broad standard, or for persons of local, regional, statewide, or national significance that are otherwise approved by and deemed appropriate by the council. Very broad standard. I mean, that particular language would mean the council would have to vote on it. You could change it to approved by the chair if the council felt that it was appropriate for the chair to make those decisions. Obviously, it's kind of, this particular issue is a little difficult. You don't want to be putting these votes before the council each time because they're a brief remembrance. So I tried to strike a balance between, having moments of remembrance versus, people objecting and things like that. They're kind of incompatible types of things. So I will say, for the clarity of the board, the amendment that I heard, so we're all on the same page, would amend this, after the word Methuen community to say, comma, anyone who has served in our government or military, comma, or for persons of, the rest it would go on, or for persons of local, regional, statewide, or national significance. So just for clarity, I think that's the amendment that's on the floor right now, unless it's further amended. So it would say, or anyone who has served in our government or military. And then do with that as you wish.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarification. So we have a first, a second. Is discussion over, and we'll vote on the amendment? Okay. I'll do a roll call on this, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Samad.
Yes.
Councilor Valley.
Yes.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Yes.
Councilor Drew.
Yes.
Councilor McLaren.
Yes.
Councilor Marsan.
Yes.
Councilor Pesh.
Yes.
Councilor Santos.
Yes.
And Chair Soto.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Now, back to the resolution. We're in discussion for the resolution or any further amendments. Counselor Drew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a chance to reach out to Councilor Samard because I had a few other concerns on this, mainly that I actually have like 5 items that I'd like to make adjustments to.
Okay.
So mainly the way I read a lot of this is it puts a lot of power to the chair. And it isn't an individual person, it's just this is our meeting as a whole, as a body. And we, as a body, should be working together to make the decisions on these things when they're brought to us. So with the amount of adjustments I'd like to make to this, I'd like to make a motion to table this, to make the adjustments so that we don't continue down this meeting and bog it down for the rest of the evening with the 5 adjustments I'd like to make to it. So I'd like to make a motion
Motion to table. Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor Valley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
Point of order, Madam
So
Chair.
item 26, TR 26,
Madam Chair, one was absent.
I'm sorry, that's
thank
Counselor
you.
Santos was not. TR 26-26 has been tabled. Okay. TR 26-27, a resolution amending the City Council rules regarding citations and proclamations, sponsored by Counselor Pesh. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor DeZoglio, seconded by Counselor Valley. Discussion. I'll give you the floor.
Thanks. So I did receive some calls on this, and I just want to, I did a little research, and I actually personally want to make some adjustments to it. So I would like to table it, but prior to doing that, I kind of want to see if there's anyone who didn't reach out to me that had some concerns or wanted it amended in any way. Some of the concerns were about the number of citations on it. I am open to suggestions. This is not meant to deter or to distract or detract, I should say, from the power of the counselors. It is really in the spirit to maintain exclusivity of these citations and proclamation and the exceptionality of those. So again, I'm kind of at the will, but before I go back to the drawing board with this and with the solicitor, I just wanted to hear if anybody had anything to add to it. So I didn't want to come out of the gate with a table.
Counselor Valley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I did my homework, and the city of Boston has a cap, 7 per city councilor per year. So that will be 14. But it's a bigger city, 13 councilors, so we got to take that into consideration.
800,000 constituents,
Yes.
yeah. You got 50.
I just want to throw that up.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you said that was per year, not per term?
Per year. Per year. I have it in front of me here.
Did you know if they expire at the end of the year, or do they carry over?
I can find out. I can call one of the
Thank you so
councilor.
much.
Yeah, Councilor Mejia and find out.
Can you bank your request for citation?
Any counselors? Counselor Santos.
So I, to Madam Chair, to advise, I reached out to to Vice Chair, and we spoke about this yesterday, I believe. And, you know, I just feel that the fact that we can uplift the members of our community by bringing them into this floor and showing our constituents that there's more to show in our city than the hate, the bullying that we are facing, and everything else. I just feel that putting a limit to citations is just a little bit extreme. You know, and like I asked you when we had this conversation, if any of, because I feel that since I got sworn in, I've been one of the councils that has been promoting this the most. So I just wanted to ask you if you feel that any of the citation that I have given out has bothered you in some way.
So this is not personal. I think I made that clear to you. And it is no way to impugn anybody who has received a citation this far. And I think I shared with you and this is where we agreed to disagree. My idea of a citation is something spectacular, right? And it's hard because, like even today, right? Those people had members, or they had a business that was almost 20 years, right? But again, similar to Councilor Samar's actually with the moment of silence, you know, and you did it with this request, and I'm only using it because it was today, but we want to always tie it back to Methuen, right? Mm-hmm. How are we helping the residents, right? Are we donating time? Are we doing free services, even as a business? And I think I shared this with you. I wish I could give a citation to every business in Methuen. And we had this discussion. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for coming to Methuen. We value them here. And I think that was the word you used.
Yes.
We want to make sure that we value them. And what I said to you was, I agree, but I don't know that this is the proper channel for it, for every business to, and I'm not saying you're suggesting to have every business get a citation, but I just don't think it's the proper channel to do it. Anybody can be recognized, any entity can be recognized at the will of the council. It doesn't necessarily have to be a proclamation, right? Or a citation. So while we value people, I just think it's hard because then where do we draw the line, right? What about the businesses who've been here for 40 years and never had one? What about the businesses who have been in 60 years, 10 years, 5 years? Where do we draw the line? It's going to end up being just a political maneuver against all of us in our districts. Well, this person gave it out to 15 businesses. I haven't given out to any businesses. Maybe I'm not a good counselor. Maybe those businesses, I don't want it to be political in nature. And again, I am not suggesting that that's your motivation behind it. In my profession, I look at the extremities, right? I look at the extremes, and that's what I said to you. And this is the discussion we had. If we want to, the way it reads right now, or lacks, you know, anything right now, we could each give 10 citations every single meeting if we wanted to. We wouldn't, but we could. So where do we draw the line? I'm just looking for some guidance, and I'm open to it. If we say it's 7 per year, if we say it's 70 per year, fine. I just want some sort of parameter set so that we don't go down this like rabbit hole of competing with citations. Does that make sense?
No.
No.
Can I bring it back and ask any other counselors that want to comment on a nay side? If that's your position currently.
I would just say if people have ideas that Councilor Pesch called for, it would be helpful to me in terms of changing this
language.
Yes. So,
thank you, Solicitor.
Motion to table.
So moved.
Motion to table by Councilor Marsan, second by Councilor Drew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous for the table. TR 26-27 has been tabled. TR 26-28, a resolution accepting the gift of a new state-of-the-art scoreboard for the girls' varsity softball field, Burnham Road, field number 3, for the Methuen Athletic Improvement Committee, and the Methuen High School boosters, requested by the mayor. EPA is on this as well, so we'll vote on the main motion and then vote on the EPA. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor DeZoglio, seconded by Counselor Santos. Discussion on this, or Mr. Mayor, if you have anything to say regarding it.
I think everything is captured in the
Okay.
language in the legislation.
Perfect. Counselor Marsan.
We've just made huge strides at the Burnham Field. You know, how we fixed the place up. The city has spent a lot of money there, a lot of effort there, and now the MAIC is doing this to put the school board up, so this is an excellent, it just helps. You know, we fixed the dugouts, and then it's just amazing what's gone on for the softball. So it's about time they got some recognition for it too, so thank you to the MAIC.
Excellent. Anything else? Great. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries, Madam Clerk. TR 20, I'm sorry, the EPA. Motion on the EPA. Thank you, Vice.
So moved.
This is why you're here.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor Valley. No discussion on the EPA. All those in favor, or if any?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice. TR 26-29, a resolution authorizing expenditures of $700 from the Edwin J. Castle Fund for the Methuen DEI Committee. Request by the Mayor and the Commission on Trust Funds. This also has an EPA, so I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor DeZoglio. Any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, Madam Clerk. On the EPA, may I have a motion on the EPA?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor Valley. Any discussion on that? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. We're moving on. Good timing. TR 26-30, a resolution authorizing expenditures not to exceed $16,920 from the Edwin J. Castle Fund for the Methuen 300. It's a request from our mayor and the Commission on Trust Funds. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Santos, seconded by Counselor Drew. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. TR 26-31, a resolution authorizing expenditures of $290 from the Edwin J. Castle Fund for the Historic Methuen, requested by the Mayor and the Commission on Trust Funds. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor DeZoglio. Discussion? Was that your hand, Counselor Valley? No? No. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, Madam Clerk. TO 26-8, ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance of the City of Methuen, Ayers Village Road parcel 702-72-83, a request of the property owner, which is the petitioner, a table to community development for joint committee hearing. Can I
Motion
have
to
a
table.
motion to table? Thank you, Counselor Marsan. Motion to table on the.
Second.
Second by Counselor Valley. Any discussion? I'm sorry, that's a privileged motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. TO 26-9, an ordinance allowing residential cottage food production, sponsored by Counselor Patricia Valley. Counselor, I'll give you the floor once we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Drew, seconded by Counselor Pesh. Discussion, you'll have the floor first. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is not a new concept. Massachusetts already allows cottage food production under the state law. So what this ordinance does is give Methuen a clear local structure so residents can participate legally and safely.
Are you done? I'm sorry, are you done with, okay, Counselor Drew.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councilor Valley, for bringing this to the table. I know that we had spoken when we had our counselor at large out in the community with the two ladies who are here, Councilor Soto and Pesh, and DeZoglio. My issue with this is only at the end. I'd like to place an amendment to it, a friendly amendment, at the very end of the ordinance, just at the very, right after the end.
Okay.
And I'd like it to state in there, because a lot of this is, it falls upon us having the staff in place to do it. But I also don't want to have it stuck in a drawer and nothing get done with it. So what I'd like to do is place on this, and Mr. Solicitor, I'd like you to help me word this properly, to go into effect no later than 6 months upon passage, regardless of staffing.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
All right, so I have a motion to amend and add to, and you can read that again, Counselor.
To go into effect no later than 6 months upon passage, regardless of staffing.
Seconded by Counselor Samard. Any discussion on the amendment?
So,
Counselor DeZoglio.
thank you, Madam Chair. So the question is, though, what I have concern with, some these ladies here might want to do like a farmer's market or something like that. That requires like a licensure or permit. If this doesn't go to effect 6 months, they might miss the opportunity to go to the farmer's market. So is there any way we could just, and again, I'm just questioning it. If we have to do this process, that's fine. But is there any way we could just say approve it and then they could go get their permits to start their farmer's market? Just quick question. Oh, the mayor?
My thought behind the amendment is to not force the administration to do something, but to act as a catalyst to making sure that this position gets filled quickly. We know that the budget season is coming. We want to ensure that it gets on that line item. The health department has stated that they have current concerns to be able to monitor things. We know that the ladies who are here are trying to get their business up and running, and we don't want to hinder any of that by any means. I think what you're asking to do and try to help them get to the farmer's market and get their business moving is a different item that we can get to and maybe talk about a pilot program specific to that. But I think this here allows this framework to be in place. Then the amendment puts that tool in place to have the staffing addressed.
Fair enough.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to add some context. So this is a topic that we have been discussing internally roughly, it was a couple months ago. And so I thank Councilor Valley for bringing this forward and for actually going forward to make it happen. The challenge that we had when we were discussing this internally was exactly the issue that's being outlined here. And I thank the councilor for including the staffing provision, just so that we can have this discussion at the very least, simply due to the fact that we currently have two health inspectors who currently have to go through every Methuen business. They have a regular schedule that they have to follow in terms of inspections and ensuring that they're able to protect the public by ensuring that the rules are being followed. And so what this would do, in effect, is it would add, in some cases, homes to their list of businesses that they have to visit along with all the other regular businesses. So the concern is that with the current staffing that we have, it would be a challenge to implement effectively and in a scalable sense. But nevertheless, I think that the amendment, I think what the council is getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's that, we're committing to having this on the books regardless. We're committing, I think, collectively as a city to support these businesses that are looking to go about this activity. And, I think another benefit here is that I plan on trying to expand our staffing in the HHSI context in the upcoming budget, due to the fact that, we need to enable our city, our businesses to be able to grow. In order to do that, we need the staffing to move folks through these processes quicker. And so, whether it's establishing this formally as a policy and also committing to supporting the expansion of that department, I think all of this is a very good thing, including the proposed amendment. I think it moves us in a positive direction. So I just wanted to share the context and just my thoughts. Thank you.
Anything further on the amendment? Mr. Solicitor?
I'm just going to reword that a little bit so we know what we're voting on. So it will say, this ordinance shall take effect no later than 6 months after passage, regardless of staffing.
Regardless. So any further discussion on that? No? All right, I'm going to take all those in favor on the amendment as the solicitor just read it? Aye. Any opposed? Amendment passes. On the main motion, we're in discussion for the ordinance still. Any further comments on the ordinance? I have a question, if I may, for Councilor Valley. Did you happen to come across how many of these permits were out in the cities you researched? Was it 100, 200? Was it 10? Was it 3?
I did Wilmington because I told you about business they have in that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm following a business in Wellington in less than 20. So
Less than 20.
It's not that common.
So I don't think we're going to have an outpour of the cottage businesses in Methuen. I mean, I hope we do, but what I'm saying is I don't think we're going to have in excess of 20, Mr. Mayor. So I think you guys can handle that, but I appreciate the amendment. Any further discussion on the main ordinance? None? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Unanimous, motion carries. Congratulations. All right, anything else for the good and welfare of this community or any other business? Any of the council members have announcements? Councilor Drew?
Just like to remind the community, this Saturday, March 21st, 12 o'clock, we are stepping off from Nicholson Stadium with our first St. Patrick's Day Parade. If you can't find the route, just follow the flags down Pleasant Valley, all the way up to Pelham Street. It is there. It will be a fun time. Director Steve Angelo has done a great job assisting in this, along with Councilor DeZoglio and the whole parade committee of getting this off the ground. So I want to thank everybody for all their support. I hope to see all of the councilors there waving and passing candy out to the kids and having fun. So thank you.
Awesome. Any further announcements? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor DeZoglio, seconded by Councilor Drew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries.
Good night, Methuen.
It is now 9 o'clock.